The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC. And if you would like to see a live recording of The Angry Chicken, come on out to CreateCon in Orlando this July. Tickets and info over at createconvention.net.
Everyone, get in here!
Ready for action!
I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Angry Chicken. I'm Gero Weinzierl, and I'm sitting here with Willie Dills Gregory and not Jocelyn Moffat. Jocelyn is actually, sadly, sick today, so we hope she gets better very soon, but filling her very Canadian shoes with very American feet, Justin Robert Young. Welcome to the show.
That's only the cover story, Garrett. I've imprisoned Joss in my beard, and I will only reveal her back to the world once this episode is through.
He just really wanted to talk old gods with us, man.
I do. No, I'm super excited. I'm always thrilled to be on the show. I like my role as kind of a break glass in case of emergency chicken, right? So I'm very happy with my role.
Don't sell yourself short like that, man. We know we've two-manned it plenty of times. We invite you on just because we like hanging out with you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that even more. Now, you're trying to butter me up.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Butter you up just before I don't know, accidentally insult your ridiculous beard or something of that nature. Actually, I'm really jealous of it.
It's ridiculous. It is a ridiculous beard. No, listen, I've continued to grow. This is my anti-playoff beard, basically. So every time that I get bounced in the first round of an Angry Chicken tournament, I allow them to grow.
By the way, sorry about last episode, man. That was, I realized later maybe it was a little bit of a low blow to call you out, but
no, this is just the launching pad for my merchandising. I'm gonna get my first round t-shirts printed up, and we'll sell them at CreateCon.
You should have just make a shirt with a bracket where it's just got your name and then opponent, your name crossed out, and then it just says I got stuff to do.
Exactly.
No time for this. I got stuff to do.
I'm actually next time I'm just gonna get invitations to the second round printed up so I can just send them to my opponent as soon as I'm matched up.
I'll see if I can pull some strings and get you a bye in the first round, just so on a technicality we can get you into the second.
No. By the way, all right. So real quick, as I know we have a million things to do, I don't know if I want to even get into the reason why I got bounced in the first round this time.
No, let's talk about it. I want to hear.
Wildly unprepared, and I broke the rules. I broke the rules and deserved to get bounced in the first round because I forgot which classes I was playing, and I prepared a deck for a class that I had not listed, and so I literally had to drop out and just hit standardize on a random deck and for warrior, and I wound up losing.
But
yeah, no.
A lesson learned there. So all you people out there, write it down somewhere, maybe.
They deserved to move on, and I will. I'll eventually get out of the first round, and it'll be a momentous occasion.
It's going to be. We're going to have to cast it, even though it's not the finals. We will be that excited about you moving out of the first round.
I was going to self-cast this time.
the other stream and self-cast. Yeah.
Would you call that casturbation?
Maybe we'll see eventually. Likely, I don't know. I mean, I'm sad that Joss isn't here because I feel like every time that there is a Angry Chicken open, it's always preceded by me just frantically texting her. Wait, is that today? When is it? Where do I need to be? How do I need to do this?
Boy, am I glad the other 127 people do not have Jocelyn's phone number because, boy.
I know. I'm the most annoying person on the planet. I think last time I wound up texting her at like 2:00 in the morning because I was coming home a little. There were a few libations involved, and I was just like, "Oh crap! I think this is tomorrow. I should go to sleep. Let's text Joss." And she just had a very curt, "It's today." Like
It's right now. It's happening
right now. Get into the stupid chat room, you moron.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, speaking of which, thank you everyone who have been sending in their volunteer emails for the next Angriest Chicken Open. A lot of you have written in. Jocelyn wanted me to let you all know that she is reading through them all, and will let you know what's going on as soon as we pick a date for the summer taco, which will I would assume would happen sometime in August, since we're all going to be quite busy prepping and getting down here for CreateCon in July. So
There's going to be other stuff going on before that. So, yeah, it'll have to wait till after that. But it's going to be cool because if we have people to volunteer, we'll be able to do things like cast not just the finals and, have streams going and stuff. So I'm excited for that. We'll get to cast juries games finally.
And then once I get bounced out in the first round,
Then you join us, yeah.
I would like to volunteer as your
hit the booth.
team. Because they always rotate casters in the big tournament. So I'll come on as
Gotta get one of our pro players. So
and here we've got Justin Rabian, who's going to tell us about losing.
Hey, listen,
see the play I would have made. I would have pinged my own face here. That's definitely.
Oh.
At
Oh
least
my
I'm
God.
not dumb enough to what was it? Coin out a
Coin
tunnel
ancestral
dog?
knowledge? Yeah.
Oh,
Coin
or-
ancestral knowledge, yeah.
Don't coin ancestral knowledge ever.
That is reserved exclusively for our buddy D-Day, and for more on
That's when you're
that.
having cigars and cocktails.
Oh,
On
man,
that is a move for that moment only.
Yeah.
I was so jealous. There's nowhere else I wanted to be watching that. Was it Snapchat or
Periscope
Our
or
Periscope,
something.
yes.
That was it. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God, that's the happiest place on earth. Dills.
It really was.
Dill's,
really was.
Dill's porch that probably had 2 more people on it than it should have, but we made it work.
But I think it's structurally sound.
It's a
Texas.
concrete porch. I've been there. It ain't gonna buckle under no one's weight.
We may be nerds, but we ain't that big.
Anyway, Dills, you wanted to give a big fat thank you to somebody on the
I actually
Hearthstone
do
subreddit.
because I was looking over Reddit earlier, and somebody from our last episode, user Ji Hong, I don't know, Z Hong, I'm not sure exactly how to say that, but they made an entire post detailing all of Ixar's answers to our questions from last episode.
And
And
this-
it is really, really long and really thorough. Says who asked the question, has his answer broken down, even includes a TLDR at the end. So thank you to whoever put that together. It's awesome. And it's got a lot of cool conversation happening in there. This is in the Hearthstone subreddit, not even ours. So
yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you
things-
what. Great job on that, by the way, guys. I thought that was incredibly informative, and I could listen to him talk for 2 days about balancing and where the good and the bad of having that game get created came from. Like, that was super fascinating.
Yeah, Ixar's good people. I mean, I enjoy talking to him so much, I want to have him on my Overwatch show, and he doesn't even work on that game. So.
Yeah.
but I bet he owns at it.
But I was about to say, knowing him, though, he probably kicks some serious ass in it.
He'll probably be the first rank 1 Overwatch.
Oh, jeez.
That was my favorite humble brag of the episode, was him telling the story of how he just discovered he was the best Hearthstone player.
Yeah. He's like, what does this mean? Let me send a memo down to, Mike Dene and see what this rank 1 thing means.
What does that smell? Oh, it's the rarest air atop Mount Olympus. Oh.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So, just in the bizarre case that you missed that episode, go back and listen to episode 151 because we had XR on it.
Mandatory listening
Yeah.
for everybody that takes all the time in the world to talk about how Hearthstone, how Blizzard's not doing the right thing with their balancing, or they don't care about certain things. That is a mandatory episode to listen to get a better understanding of how that actually works and how much they actually care about stuff.
I agree. And let's go get a better understanding of what's happening in the world of Hearthstone this week.
Good news, everyone!
We had the Americas preliminary this past weekend. And hey, Dills, guess what?
What's that?
Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior, and Rogue, all still
Uh-huh.
very popular.
Yep. it seems the meta has shaken out just a little bit, at least the tournament meta.
Yeah, just a hair. I've been enjoying kind of reading up about the statistics and whatnot. Gosu Gamers has a wonderful post up with all of the stats. And what was different? There wasn't a ton, but the meta more or less seemed the same. But what was different was N'Zoth Pally, not as popular over here in the Americas apparently.
Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with DreamHack. It was kind of a hot deck at the moment because people just kind of figured it out and were having a lot of success. But at that particular tournament, really Chalky was the one who had the most success with his version, and he had a super slow tournament-ready version. But the deck itself, I'm not sure has the legs everyone thinks it does. It might just be missing some things. It might not be quite optimized for what other people are playing. And also, without a lot of people playing things like Freeze Mage, it is losing one of its biggest matchups, and Freeze Mage is kind of a niche tournament deck right now. You are seeing it in some lineups, but it's not everywhere. There's just not a lot of Mage, period. So it's not quite the deck that's going to kind of conquer these tournaments for you. And we're going to talk a little bit later about Conquest versus Last Hero Standing. I think in a Last Hero Standing, it might see more play because I think it fits more into that, but the Conquest stuff is a little bit different. So. But it was a really cool tournament. A lot of great stuff happened. There was some drama. I don't know if it's not in the notes here, but I don't know if you heard about this. Amnesiac dropped out the second day because he had his sister's graduation to attend. And then some players who lost to him were pissed because they were knocked out by him, and then he didn't even play in the second day.
We had some Kurt tweets, right? Kurt,
yep.
2-word.
Somebody dropped the F-bomb on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
A 20-something-year-old adult male dropped the F-bomb on a 15-year-old kid for going to his sister's graduation, which, may or may not have been the right thing to do.
Can we have him on the show? Because, dude, you sound like the coolest guy. I really want to talk to you.
Yeah. So the thing is, look, it's everyone's prerogative to drop out of a tournament whenever they want to for whatever reason. They're in the tournament, they qualified for it. If they find a reason that they feel is important enough that they want to leave, they are totally within their rights to do so. And it doesn't really matter when it happens. That's part of the deal. So if you didn't want to get knocked out of the tournament, you probably should have just won your match, right? That's really how it works. So.
Oh, scoreboard, homie. So let me ask you kind of a more general esportsy question, because this we are in a very weird place with esports in that it is getting more and more time and money and effort devoted to it by larger and larger both venues physically, as well as even like television networks for stuff like TBS and their Counter-Strike thing. Hearthstone is very much an esport, a player in that space. You see a lot of attention, even on this show, talking, I think rightly, about how Twitch needs to present these tournaments to make sure that they are a better broadcast-ready kind of product. And yet, it is totally understandable for a 15-year-old who is one of your stars of a tournament to just kind of walk off and go to his sister's graduation. I think that it just demonstrates what kind of awkward thing. I don't think that anybody should be dropping F-bombs on him, right? Or It's so funny to me in indulging a little bit of the drama that this person is so young, and yet if you're just reading the Reddit thread about it, he's got this set in stone shady reputation that he could never shake or something like that, which is just insane when you think about how young everybody is. But I do think it does illustrate that, hey, we're in a place where these kids can't take it as seriously as I think people who want to watch it want them to take it.
Yeah, that definitely, there is something to that. But I think, there's right now Hearthstone is closer to some of the, and esports in general, is closer to some of the fringe sports. And you will see stuff like this happen at, say, a poker tournament or a pool tournament or something like that, because it's kind of just lower on the totem pole. Whereas you're never going to see somebody, in the World Series be like, my sister's graduating. There'll be plenty of World Series games, which is actually what Amnesiac said. He said something like, and I think there was some pressure on him from his parents. Probably. I'm just kind of guessing here.
And by the way, that is my favorite drama. It's like, oh, well, this sounds like it's something his parents said to him. And everybody's talking about this like it's It's like a real serious, like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I mean, like the kid left. Yeah, it is certainly a festival of butthurt for anybody that he beat on the way there. That could have been their spot. I understand their anger there, but
it's not their spot. That's the thing. Like you got to look at it like that happened. Whether it was him or another player, you would have still had to play a match against somebody, right?
Yes.
So whether he dropped out before the tournament started or not, it's not like that's just going to walk you into the finals because some, like, quote-unquote lesser player. By the way, it's like a huge compliment to Amnesiac that he thinks that if it was anybody else, he would have been able to win.
Sure.
So, it's just one of those things. It's part of the deal. It's if I'm playing in the ladder and I match up against non-pro players, did I have an easier time? I don't know, but that's what happened. That's what got put in front of you. Like, you can't really live in this world of what ifs. And
win your game.
Yeah, you just gotta play your best and hope you win your matches, and it all shakes out in your favor.
That's how you solve the problem. Win the game.
Exactly.
Advance.
Yeah. But the thing, like, it's funny because the tournament itself was great, and then they had this one little thing, and then that was like the most active thread on Reddit, and not how great everybody did. We had this, and then we had, oh my god, what an awkward interview with that one guy who won. Those were like the two big threads about the tournament.
How is esports interview goes horribly awkward still a headline? How is that like?
Yeah.
Especially it's a digital card game, guys. Just
these are the growing pains.
It is.
Not everyone's gonna come out with their wrestling speech and their Hearthstone interview. That's not.
They're not should not promos that they've been practicing.
Although, hey, listen, I am gonna go ahead and offer any pro player. I will offer my services as your Jimmy Hart. I will get an airbrushed jacket with your face on the back, and I will have the megaphone, and I will cut promos on your opponents.
You'll speak for them. I think that's a great idea. I think we need more of that. We need like some managers for the teams, and then they show up and do the interviews. But it is. It's just this is the growing pains of esports.
Absolutely.
There's got to be crap like this. The fact is, the tournament was fantastic. We saw a lot of really, really good plays. I thought the production value was amazing. I'm loving the team of casters that they've kind of found, and they're rotating in and out of all these tournaments. And you're starting to see familiar faces that are new. So it's not just Frodan all the time, although Frodan is a big part of it still. But it's like all of these guys are kind of coming together and really gelling, and I think the production value is coming together as well. So, yes, there is still some drama. Yes, there was a cringy interview. But overall, I think all of it is tightening up. The production on all of this stuff is tightening up in a pretty big way.
That your little rundown sounded more like legitimate sports drama and cringeworthy interviews.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. I mean, look, in the playoffs right now, we got guys kicking each other in the balls and stuff. It's like, well, a cringy interview and a kid went to his sister's graduation. That seems pretty tame, actually, in comparison.
Yeah, that was the reason I didn't even put it in here. Was I thought it was ridiculous. The folks on Reddit were making it seem like there was suddenly this rampant madness of all of these players leaving for their sister's graduation, when really it was just one guy, and he made a call, and that can happen in any part of anything in your life, and. Sure. Deal with it, for the love of God. Yeah, okay, if Amnesiac drops out of 4 more tournaments, maybe he won't be getting invited to very many more tournaments.
He's already qualified, so
right. So,
like, no sweat off his back.
That's my point. Yeah. There's you make decisions and you deal with the fallout of that decision. So I find it hilarious that this was the most active discussion being had around this tournament, as opposed to the actual games that were being played.
Mm-hmm. And 8 people qualifying for the next step here in BlizzCon qualifiers. So pretty good stuff. I encourage everyone to check. One thing that was weird about this, I don't know if you saw, the deck lists were like live and posted on Hearthstone Top Deck, I think it was. Let me confirm that. Hearthstone Top Decks, had the entire, like, all of the lists before the tournament even happened. And I had never really seen this before. But it was awesome.
Listen, the one biggest thing that I think about watching Hearthstone as a television product or a visual product, right, is that what really made poker take off was the idea that you, the viewer, knew more about the game than the players did. Like, or at least you had a fuller idea than any of the players did. And I think that that's something that as Hearthstone evolves as a television product, I would love to see what the top deck card is for each player before they see it. I think that would make it a more compelling thing if we, the viewer, and the casters knew about what was coming and could now formulate, whether or not the next play is going to be interesting or good, or they're setting things up, or they're smart, or they're prescient, or that it's a bigger heartbreak. I love the idea of posting the deck lists and just giving the viewer a fuller idea of what they're looking at.
Yeah, the issue with posting the deck lists online is that, during a break, all the players currently in the tournament can go and look at the deck list.
Yeah, but apparently someone in chat is saying that they've been doing this for all the prelims. I never noticed it. I never saw this before, at least not to this level where all of them were like detailed on an easy to find site. A lot of tournaments you can't find them until afterwards, and sometimes people are even trying to figure out the deck list live as the tournament is going.
That was certainly the case at DreamHack for us, because we were trying to find like Koyuki's Aggro Paladin that day. We're like, have you found it anywhere? Have you seen it?
Druid. Everyone was going crazy, and they didn't have the entire list because they'd only seen 25 cards or something like that. And everyone was like losing their mind trying to figure out what the exact deck list was. But I think, Justin, your idea is actually really interesting. Another thing that would be cool, this would have to be built into the Observer client by Blizzard, really, to make this work. But it would be really cool to have the next card be kind of like showing what it's going to be. But then also, let's say a game ends, rabbit hunt the next couple cards. For people who know what rabbit hunting is in poker sometimes, let's say somebody folds before they've seen all the cards, so that there's the flop, the turn, and the river. Yeah. If someone folds after the flop, but they also potentially had a draw to win, sometimes they'll show what the next card would have been just to the viewers, so that we can see, he would have actually made the flush.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see what the next card could be in some situations too.
And I think it would be great for Blizzard to differentiate their tournaments from other tournaments, is just to make it this is something that elevates these tournaments to like that bigger status, is that it has this different viewing experience.
I mean, that is what made poker work so well, was seeing the whole cards and kind of having this, you watch because it's really hard to make two guys sitting stone still be interesting,
sure.
But you could do it when you knew what the cards were and you understood what the decision making was, what was going on and stuff like that. So that is, I think, the one thing that the casting has gotten more towards, is rather than them just trying to predict what the player is going to do, which I think for a long time that was the Hearthstone casting style.
Yeah.
Was, let's just figure out what we think he might do here. The style has become more discuss the matchups, discuss why players made the decisions they did, discuss what their thought processes are at the moment, and not just try to guess what the play should be.
Hearthstone is a game where you want to watch it and know more about it when you're done watching it. It is a game that you want to learn from the pro players, because it is a very complex world, and I think the more you can do that, the better. I was very excited to see the aggro weapon warrior on the list of decks that were played, because that's my new fave.
Yeah,
is that what you're playing these days?
Yeah. While the meta was honestly hadn't really changed all that much in the grand scheme of this entire tournament, there were a couple outliers, specifically within Warrior, Aggro Weapon Warrior and Dragon Warrior, and then we also had a new type of kind of mid-range shaman that did quite well at this tournament. I was happy to see that as well.
Yeah, and right now I think we're going to see Hunter make a big comeback too, because I think actually mid-range Hunter is much stronger than people have given it credit for.
I'm really enjoying it right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I really like my version that I've been playing. I teched in one Infest, because I have noticed that a lot of times the problem that I run into is when games go long.
That is hilarious.
I run out of steam.
Because I had the spectate daily, watch a friend win a game. So I jumped into our buddy Solid Jake from Town Hall. Jumped into his game. He was playing mid-range Hunter, and this is really the first time I had seen the deck being played. And he had it Infest, and we were sitting there having a conversation about how we should probably just tech it out, because it's kind of just a win more scenario.
Yeah, but it's actually, like, I found that I was struggling against basically control decks that could take the game long. I was struggling because I was running out of cards and they weren't.
That is true.
That's the mid-range Hunter style, right? Is to just kind of throw your cards onto the table and then hope that you get some damage in, right?
Yeah.
And the hero power will carry you to the finishing damage. But a lot of times I was just out of cards, and I was like, I'm using I'm using this Unleash the Hounds to clear the board anyway. Wouldn't it be cool if I just comboed Unleash with Infest and refilled my hand? And turns out it is pretty cool. A lot of times, I'm getting really good stuff off of it.
You're absolutely right. So I'm now curious. I need to go ping Jake and see if he ended up taking it out or putting it back in or who knows what. But I'm really
kind of like running the single Cult Master that you used to see a lot of times, because it's like that. It gives you that combo potential with Unleash. It makes Unleash just slightly better.
Yeah.
But instead of, because right now there's so much Beast synergy built into the deck. All the decks are running double Houndmaster and stuff, that it's better not to just draw through my deck. It's better to just generate more beasts. That I've found anyway. So
yeah, 2 of the players in the top 8 brought mid-range hunters, by the way, Napoleon and PNC. We didn't even really have a chance to talk about the fact that the top 8 are pretty much all new players.
Yeah. Dear Jason is a name I recognize. Napoleon is someone I've seen the name before, not too familiar with, but yeah, a lot of these names are fairly new to a lot of people. So
yeah, especially considering Chalky, that's Admirable, Silent Storm, Just Saying, Dog, Amaz, Zalay, Tides of Time, Amnesiac, who we already talked about. All of them were in it and did not make top 8.
Yep.
Where was this tournament?
I don't think they were all in the same place. I think there was several places they could be, and then they were basically,
Yeah, I thought they were playing via proxy and they were just casting all at the same studio.
Yeah, but I think they were in several places because they all did have the backdrop and everything like that, but not all in one place.
Nice.
Probably smart.
Well, sweet. Well, if you're not up to date or if you want to see deck lists, we've got links in the show notes. A lot of stuff is over at Gosu Gamers, so go check that out. Before we get into this week's big topic and strategy discussion, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting the podcast. We really can't thank you guys enough. So on this episode, we want to thank Bruce H., Mary B., Dreekin, or D. Reekin, I don't know, Joe K., and Duriel, Blue Tongue, who wins the name game this week, Toby H., and simply just the letter S. Thank you guys for supporting the show.
Man.
Yeah, maybe, I'm going to say S wins the name game because it's a single character, and I have no idea who you are, but I'm assuming you know who you are.
He is the last S that was left off for savings.
He's probably a superhero, I'm guessing,
Likely, highly likely.
Got to keep that identity hidden.
His name in that case would just be S-Chest.
Look, there's a lot of downtime when you're superheroing, so you got to listen to podcasts, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, listen, half of superheroing is on patrol, right?
Yeah.
It's sitting on rooftops waiting for stuff to happen.
Even if you can fly, it takes a while to fly around the globe, and it certainly takes a long time to fly around it fast enough that you can turn back time. So what do you do during that moment? You get caught up on your favorite Hearthstone esports by listening to the Angry Chicken.
Exactly.
That'd be so great if Superman was just he hears some horrible thing happening and he's just halfway through a game and he's just just 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds.
Oh man, well let me just see what I top deck. I can still win this.
Well, the victim was, I know that sound. It was the victim was stabbed in the arm. They probably have about 3 more seconds for me to get over there.
I got it, right? Yeah. I got it. I'm on a roll here. I'm trying. It's getting to the end of the season.
I'm on a win streak, guys. I'm on a win streak. Oh, it's great. Oh man, now I want the spin-off comic that is just nerd Superman. He cannot be bothered to put down the video games because he's just too into them. Well, let's get this week's strategy talk, shall we?
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
We kind of sort of wanted to talk about this last week, but there was too much stuff to discuss, which is specifically Conquest format and a little bit more Conquest format versus Last Hero Standing. There's been a lot of chatter going on around the Hearthstoneosphere with this, and I even got a link in the show notes here to an interview with RDU that was over on Hearthhead a week ago. Dills, man, catch me up to speed, and maybe real quick for maybe listeners who are unfamiliar or maybe new, maybe we should explain the difference between Conquest and Last Hero Standing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first year of competitive Hearthstone, Blizzard implemented the Last Hero Standing format, which is what was used for Firebat when he won. If you remember, he won a bunch of games with just his Druid deck, at least in that finals, right? So he got to win and then play the Druid deck again, and the other guy couldn't beat the Druid deck. That was Last Hero Standing. So basically the way it works now, and nowadays we've implemented this ban system, which has become kind of the norm for a lot of tournaments. So basically, both players in Last Hero Standing will have 4 different decks. You'll ban 1 deck from each guy's selection of 4, so they'll be left with 3. Then you'll each choose your first deck, and that's a blind pick. You don't know what the other guy chooses. You just select based on the 3 that you know, and your 3, and you just pick which one you want. And then when you win, your deck stays, and the losing deck is eliminated, right? So if you start with, say, Hunter versus Paladin, and the Paladin loses, the Paladin deck is now eliminated, the Hunter deck stays, and the second game is played with the Hunter deck versus one of the remaining 2 decks from the losers lineup. And basically, once you've eliminated all 3 decks, then you win. So in a way, it's like, there can be OP decks. I think this was the reason that Blizzard decided to go with this Conquest format, which was, okay, we don't want players to just crush through an entire tournament with just this one deck. So they instituted the Conquest format, which is basically the same thing in reverse, kind of. So both players still bring 4 decks. Both players still ban 1. There's 3 remaining. The first pick is a blind pick. And then once that first game happens, the winning deck is now eliminated. So at this point now you have to win with all 3 of your remaining decks rather than, the loser losing with all 3 of them, right? So this is a little bit awkward, though, too. So we're going to kind of get into what the problems are and the benefits. But this has been a hot topic for a long time for the pro scene, because the pros, while they may have embraced Conquest at the time because they didn't really know what that was going to end up becoming, and I think there was some issues with Last Hero Standing. We don't know if there's really a perfect format out there yet. Conquest has proven to be something that the pros don't really like, and RDU gets really, really deep into that in this article. So the article is linked here so you can read his thoughts, but we'll just kind of talk about it a little bit. I don't know, do you guys have a preference on either of these? I know we played, the Taco was a Conquest format, right?
Yes. It's hard not to, especially after reading RDU's interview, not to really kind of sympathize with his side of things. And over time, I think I've come around on Last Hero Standing. If folks have been listening to the show from episode 1, they probably heard, I think, all 3 of us at one point get very winded with the Last Hero Standing format because we were seeing one deck just sweep. We saw that with Druid in the first World Championship.
Yeah, I think that there is a danger of overreacting to that, though, because the game is different now. The game is something that hopefully, at its best, will not have the kind of OP decks that you would see in the first year of its creation. That you continue to balance things out and you continue to nerf and nip and tuck till you get something that there is a reasonable a balance there. I do really like the Last Hero Standing thing, just in terms of the esports of it all. You want to build stars. You want to build star decks. You want to build, it is easier for somebody who is a passive fan of the game to get invested in a tournament if they understand that one player rode one deck to glory, right? As opposed to that one player demonstrating a more complex, rounder set of skills that like I've demonstrated that I can play with these 4 decks, and that's what makes me the best player, as opposed to Last Hero Standing, which puts more on your deck craft. If you can have one deck that just is amazing and you are dominating, then that's the story of the tournament, and I think it's a more compelling one.
It is fairly unlikely that one player will ride to victory on the back of one deck because of bans.
Yeah, the bans have kind of dealt with the OP decks, which was, I think, one of the things people were so concerned with for a long time. It's like, Undertaker Hunter is just the best deck in the game. So do we want to watch a tournament where everybody just plays Undertaker Hunter and just hopes that they win the mirror match, and then once you win the mirror match, you just win the match? Because, I think that was maybe the issue. But RDU makes a lot of really good points. These are points that a lot of pros have been making for a long time. So let's kind of go ahead and run these down. So the skill cap of Conquest that people have argued with is that, you have to win with multiple decks, right? So this means that the better player should win because they had to win with different decks. They couldn't just ride this one powerful deck to victory. But the problem there is that actually it doesn't end up working that way. It ends up working the other way, where it's just kind of RNG who ends up winning, because when when you know what the deck is going to be that stays, you can then counter pick that deck, and then basically like there's actual strategy to the deck you select for game number 2 after game number 1 is over. But in the Conquest format, the winner might, you don't know which deck they're going to switch to. You're guessing, you're hoping.
It's blind pick every round until the final possible game.
Yeah, until the third, until someone's at 2 losses and you know exactly what deck they have. But then advantage winner, right? Or I don't know. It gets a little awkward. So basically, people have proved that actually just randomly rolling and not even deciding is the best way to pick your decks. Like mathematically proven this. There's long Reddit threads where people
specifically for
back and forth.
Specifically for the Conquest format, by the way.
For the Conquest format, correct?
That was RDU's like main point, like kind of point of dissent, which was that hey, in Last Hero Standing, the order that I pick my decks to play in, it matters. There's strategy to it. Whereas whatever deck I pick next in Conquest, I should just run a random number generator to decide what I'm going to play next. It's actually been proven mathematically that that's the best case scenario.
Well, because you're not predictable, right?
Right.
The opponent has no idea what you're going to choose. But then the problem is, so now we're playing coin flip, right? We're playing rock, paper, scissors or whatever, and we're just hoping that we end up with the good matchups. Whereas the Last Hero Standing, you can actually counterpick. Matches tend to go to the full 5 games more often because you can say, okay, I lost that first game. Now I know what he's playing, so let me go ahead and pick against that. Also, people end up bringing a little bit more diversity to their lineups because they know they're going to have to be able to counter multiple decks to actually get through. And then the other thing too is that you can actually target decks. So if and I'm talking about Last Hero Standing, you can target decks because if you know that a deck is going to be popular, if basically you can like put your lineup so that you can get through, and it's very complex how you will do that. So you can always kind of pick against whatever might come your way, and it's actually it's going to reward deck builders even more, and it's going to reward skilled players even more than this just kind of I hope that I end up rolling right on this game, right? So it's actually rewards skill even more, and this was the problem that people had with Last Hero Standing before, is they were saying it's not rewarding skill, they're just rolling through because they played Druid, right? So it's like Conquest has gone against what it initially was trying to do, and it's actually made the competitive scene less interesting and more randomized, and the players they hate that. So and the other thing too is if you are doing Conquest, you have to win with 3 decks, right? You have to win with each of your decks. Another thing you can do is you can just bring a lineup that literally never loses to one deck, and then never lose your matches as long as the other guy has that deck, because they'll never be able to win with that deck, right? So like, let's say you build, you see Chalky do this, where he built like a bunch of fatigue decks. And then he showed up and he was like, yeah, I'm just never going to lose to like Zoo in this tournament. So everybody who brought Zoo, I'm just going to beat them. And then if you think everyone's bringing Zoo, then that's what and you're basically building your lineup in this really weird way. And yeah, that can be interesting, but in the end, you end up with these kind of bizarre things rather than seeing like the top decks battle against the top decks.
Well, you're just not seeing strategy in the way that pays off in that moment, right? You're seeing kind of this meta level stuff, which is interesting to people who are into the theory craft of what it's like to be a pro player, but might not be super interesting to the random person watching. And ultimately, esports is that balance between the fairest way that you can have high-level competitors compete against each other, and the other side, which is how do we make this the most entertaining we possibly can? And part of entertainment is understanding what they're doing. And so, listen, I from reading through this, I think it makes a lot of great points, and I'm always for the thing that is more understandable. I think the Last Hero Standing just makes a little bit more sense to me, just from an outsider's point of view.
I'm with you there as well. Another point I want to bring up though is how much do you guys think it plays into things, Blizzard wanting to keep the competitive side of Hearthstone as close to the regular player experience, because we already see that there's definitely a bias towards standard because all the Blizzard sanctioned tournaments are standard, and I would argue that the random nature of Conquest is a lot more similar to the incredibly random nature of Ladder than say the Last Hero Standing is, which of course leads me to, hey guys, wouldn't it be cool if we had a mode where we got to play best of 3?
Oh man, this is great. I can check this off my TAC bingo board. Somebody brought up, but this is great.
I think we just haven't hit the perfect format yet for competitive Hearthstone. I don't think either one of these is perfect. I think one is less perfect than the other, or more flawed than the other, I guess is the better way to put that. But I don't think either one of these is the way that I think we should. Like, I don't think Blizzard should settle yet. I think we should continue tooling and tweaking and finding new ways. And I really do hope that at some point we land on something where we don't have just one tournament going on at BlizzCon. I want to see a Wild, a Standard, and an Arena tournament. You know, we've talked about this a lot. And then they can all kind of have their formats work the way that they think that will best find the best player, right?
So,
in those particular formats. But I would love to also see, like, what Magic does with the guy who is the world champion is the guy who is the best in all formats, essentially. And
yeah, which we talked about last week.
But it'd be cool. It'd be super cool. Even if that's not BlizzCon, even if that's some other tournament in the middle of the year or something like that, that is just kind of another, you know, by the way, we've got BlizzCon champion, and then we've got like this all-around champion or something. But yeah, again, people bring up the single deck format a lot too, with sideboards. Could that work? I'm not really sure. I think the problem there is you'll end up with a lot of warlocks because warlocks can, you know, kind of tool around a lot more with a base set of cards. I don't know. There's not really a perfect solution, but I think we're getting closer if we go back to Last Hero Standing.
well, let's also understand that the product for which they are trying to figure out the best way to present is effectively a month and a half old, right? You know, Hearthstone, the game, has been around for a long time, but even then, comparatively, not really all that long, right? It's only a couple years. And Standard is something that, like, you need to know exactly what your diversity is going to be in terms of the tournament decks, and as they shake out and seeing how it's different than what it was before you can really figure out the way to market it and display it. And I think that's what so often gets lost with this game, because people love it so much so fast that like, this is a process and it should take time. Like, nobody's, you know, you're not, I don't think Blizzard should be in a hurry. It's what makes them a good company to settle on the one thing that they marry themselves to that will be there forever, that now they have to deal with. You know, this is a slow evolving picture, and they should take their time with it.
Yeah, I want to see more tournaments, though. The one thing that kind of bothers me right now about the tournament scene is because, you know, and I really like what's happened this year, that we're seeing new faces because the tournaments have to be open to get the BlizzCon points. Like, a lot of that stuff has been really positive for the tournament scene overall. But one thing that has kind of gone away since the advent of now Standard and this, you know, this HCT thing where you're just trying to get to the World Championship, and that's the big tournament, and there's a lot of tournaments on the way, is that we're seeing less diversity in the formatting. More people are just copying what Blizzard is doing because that's what Blizzard is doing, right? So Blizzard now has the biggest, you know, axe to wield as far as what they're going to do to set the standard for everybody else. Whereas before, you were seeing a lot of people do weird stuff because nobody really knew. And so I want to see more tournaments that are outside of this, you know, this road to BlizzCon, be a little bit more just imaginative and creative and come up with a lot of different stuff, because then we'll start to see, it'll get us there faster. Blizzard is going to take note. Blizzard's going to pay attention. It'll get us to the point where we want to be faster if more people are trying different things. There's not really any tournament out there that's trying the one deck thing. Well, really no tournament that's trying multiple versions of Hearthstone to decide the winner. Like, there's nobody really doing any of that.
I think there are a lot of factors that go into that. I think one of the ones is definitely going to be whatever Blizzard is currently using for the championship. You're going to be inclined to use for multiple reasons, some of which being, it's just easier. They've done the job for you. But I think there's going to be a lot of players who are in the tournament scene that are more inclined to play in your tournament because it's good practice for them.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you guys this, because you guys do tournaments that I get bounced out of in the first round.
Well, that's why we brought you on to talk about this subject. You are a tournament specialist.
As a first round loser, that's going to be my legend player preamble. What would it take for you guys to do a taco with a different, more experimental format?
Honestly, feedback from the players, I think that they want that, because we did ask what people wanted for this tournament as far as, standard versus wild and stuff. So the next tournament definitely could be something a little bit different. I think that would be pretty cool. I'm actually going to be doing, not this month, but next month, I'm going to do a tournament just for my personal Patreons, which Justin, you are one, so
I'm in. I'm in. Get ready. Someone's getting a second round bye.
But I'm really excited to try something different there too. Where one of the things that I have been wanting to try was stuff where you have specific deck types. So people playing like not just whatever the best deck is, but they have to come up with. I like these kind of deck building tournaments where people come with decks where there's rules around how you build a deck. So you're not just seeing what you see on the ladder, right? The tournament is just wildly different and interesting. So I'm definitely interested in seeing some of that. And I also do want to try a single deck format with sideboards and just kind of see what everyone ends up bringing. Because, if you have everyone brings one class and you have like 5 sideboard cards, then it'll be really cool to kind of see what people kind of theory craft as what would be the best deck against the field of
what is the most deck.
Yeah. And you'll probably see a lot of people play, one deck or something that a lot of people will end up thinking is the best. But I think what I would guess would happen is that deck won't actually be the one that wins. It'll be somebody who properly countered what everyone else probably
upends, right? Who upends the one super popular deck.
Yeah, exactly. And you see this in like Magic tournaments where there's so many different decks, and a lot of times people have decided what they think are the top tier decks, and then some other deck wins because it just ends up having like a really good matchup that particular tournament against a lot of these what are the top tier decks, right? And so it's a deck you didn't expect, and that's really fun, and that is a cool story. And the deck becomes the story. And right now, like you were saying, Justin, earlier, the deck is never the story anymore. It's hard to find these storylines with Conquest. It ends up being this kind of just hodgepodge of whatever, and then hopefully you get a new name and an interesting thing, but you're not getting this like linear storyline, right?
It's muddy in that case. Is exactly what you're getting at.
Decks want to be the stars, right? There's a reason why these decks just pop up, because there's some pro player streaming something on Twitch. Like, there is something to the idea that one day you wake up and now there's this new deck that everybody's talking about. That is the star quality of this game.
Yeah, and it's super fun to pay attention to what's going on. This is why I browse around Twitch and watch all these guys play on Twitch, because I'm interested in seeing what they're doing. I know it shapes the meta. A lot of times maybe I don't copy the deck, but it'll inspire me to try something in a similar vein. Or, I never thought of that card. Let's see how that card maybe works in this deck,
I'm just saying, pull out your decks and let's see how impressive they are.
Let's put them next to each other, boys.
Lay them out.
You're an awful
Things
person,
just
Justin.
got weird.
Oh, is that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Jocelyn would be cracking up right now. But.
Sorry.
And Jocelyn laughs at it when it's not intentional. When you just kind of say it and it sounds dirty.
Intentionally making.
Yeah, see, but like without Jocelyn here, we all just go, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
no one's laughing.
no one's laughing. Yeah, no one's
We're
pointing
into
out
it, man.
No one's pointing out the innuendo. Nobody.
Well, I would love to hear what our listeners think. So please send us some emails or tweet at me or whatever if you have any ideas what you think is the best format to use. It's a continuing conversation. I really enjoyed the article. It was on Hearthhead. It was an interview with RDU, and basically it's just his statement and Skiffington writing a couple of things about, kind of clarifying what he's talking about and making some of his points a little stronger. But really, really good stuff. So I encourage everyone to go read that as well, because the pro players, they really do have a stake in wanting to see this continue, because we're making money off of this children's card game, right? And they want to see it actually continue to work. So I think their voices should really be heard. They matter a lot, and the fact that a lot of them really don't think Conquest is the way to go, it makes you think.
Did you just turn into Rain Ad for a second?
What do you mean, invent Hearthstone and Zoo and everything?
No, call it a children's game.
Oh, well, I mean that's just a meme.
A game for babies.
All right, well, go check out Hearthhead. Check out the article. Let us know what you think. Let's take a crazy game story.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. If it's a crazy game story, you should probably put crazy game and or story somewhere in the title. David writes in this week and says, love the podcast, keeps me entertained on the commute into work here in our nation's capital. For all your podcasts I've listened to, pondering the enrage mechanic on our favorite incensed foul. I've never seen it happen, much less in competitive play. And I've seen my share of games have had multiple Legend and 12-win arena runs. This was with a 5-2 Arena Hunter deck that it finally happened. It all started with a ball of spiders, as all the best stories do. 3 web spinners were my key to card advantage. That is until the first gave me an angry chicken, but the second, addled Grizzly. I pondered these unusual cards and concocted a plan, casting Grizzly and our ferocious feathered friend in quick succession. My opponent responded with a Noyotron. But my plucky, temperamental friend was not annoyed. He was enraged! By busting the robot's divine shield, I activated a 7-1 monster. Better yet, the third web spinner card was a scavenging hyena, ensuring that if my opponent had Big Game Hunter to answer my 1-mana chicken, I'd benefit from beast synergy upon its destruction. Instead, he conceded the following turn, hopeless to defeat the power synergy of enraging a 1-1 bird.
That's it. Man.
And these guys they're getting real good at writing these stories up. I'm impressed.
Wait, what was the word y'all were choking on last week? The word for chicken?
Oh no, it wasn't the word for chicken. It was the word for angry that they used. I can't remember. I properly defined it, but I could not.
I was screaming. I was on my bike. I was just screaming the word.
I still can't say it. Apoplectic. There you go.
Apoplectic.
Yes.
Apoplectic.
Yes.
Apoplectic? Apoplectic. Okay, cool.
Always great to see an angry chicken make it into the angry game story.
Oh God, yes, me.
With Mark of Yasharaj, I was surprised that we didn't see more angry chickens out there in the world because, you know, when you buff into 3/3s and draw a card, that seems pretty good. But unfortunately, still playing a 1/1.
See, this would be another great kind of tournament, a little like pop-up tournament that I would love to see. It's just like a chopped style, like an Iron Chef. Like, listen, build your deck, but it's got to include these
2 cards. Yeah, and
this week's secret card, Angry Chicken.
We did have Angry Chicken offs in the past, where the rule was you had to play with the Angry Chicken. You couldn't ever actually hit the opponent with anything but the angry chicken, and you couldn't actually kill the opponent's angry chicken either.
Yeah, but those games
basically
were
just a race to see who could get the angriest chicken.
Those games were real dumb.
Yeah,
those games were
some people say
dumb.
you can still see those games being played. I'm sure that they were very, very, very long.
I'm sure somewhere you can see those. But
that's a good idea, though, Jerry. I think I'm on board. We'll have to make something like that happen. Like, here's 2 cards. Everyone go build your deck.
Yeah,
I can dig it. Part of the reason I would love replays in Hearthstone, so I could issue challenges like that and tell folks to send me their replays.
Hell yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, that would be. If like each week you're like, all right, like this week's secret password is.
Exactly. Day 9 did this for years with StarCraft 2. It was the Fun Day Monday. He would issue you a challenge, and on the following Monday, he would cast 2 or 3 of those games, and it was just
that's great.
phenomenal. But you can't do that in Hearthstone because there's no replays. I mean, you could have people record their videos, but that's a lot more quality control that you have to bring into the mix.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyways, thank you for your crazy game story, David, and thank you for bringing victory to our favorite foul. So let's round the show out with some emails.
Hello.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, did you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to the same place. It's tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first email comes to us from Brian, who says, hello, TAC crew. I am in the middle of a contest prep for a bodybuilding show, and I find myself going on way harder tilts than normal. I'm very confident, but hate using Tier 1 decks and find a lot of satisfaction in Hearthstone and other card games by finding ways to win while playing Tier 2 decks, so things like Midrange Hunter and Dragon Priest are my go-to at the moment. But as these are inconsistent, I find myself irrationally angry when a piece of RNG that statistically should work out for me over the course of many games has failed to do so over the past week, and I found myself in a free fall of ranks. So my question to you is, how do you deal with multiple bad days of Hearthstone and long periods of being on tilt? Thank you. P.S. It's not roid rage, as I'm a lifetime natural. I'm glad you pointed that out for us,
thanks
Brian.
for pointing that out, because I was going to say, hey, maybe prepping for a bodybuilding show could have something to do with it. But all right.
I mean, leave the roids out of it. I mean, you're already in a highly competitive mood because you're preparing for a competition. I would definitely assume that. I don't care if it's like your whey shake in the morning. I'm assuming that you're just more inclined to be competitive.
Sure. No, I'd agree with that. I think, isn't it true without even taking anything, if you go to the gym, you're like getting revved up and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, you got all the juices are pumping, right? Even if he's doing it au naturel. So all right, I'm actually curious. I put my head under the pillow and just say I'm not good at Hearthstone, and then I start crying. But I'm less of a man than this person is, clearly. So how do you guys deal with it?
I have. It really hasn't changed since like the early days of this show when I set myself, if I lose 3 games, it's time to call it for the day, or at least for that session, because I do absolutely get tilted. So I have a personal 3-game limit. Find your limit.
I think that that is definitely one way to deal with it. But when I was doing like my legend grind, I was telling myself I was going to play 15 games, right? So it wasn't really an option to start 0-3 and then just be like, oh, screw it, I'm just done for the day. I had to push through. And a lot of times I actually found myself being like 2-3 or something after the first 5 games, and then ending the session at like 11-4 or 10-5 or something like that. So even though like I started struggling, pushing through the struggles and just saying to myself, this is just variance. This is normal Hearthstone. I'm supposed to lose X amount of the time. This is fine. As long as I kind of kept that attitude and just kept pushing the button and said, I got to get to 15 games. That's my plan. I'm not switching decks. I'm not going to be completely results oriented because, my flame juggler went face again. I'm not going to worry about that, right?
I had that happen in 2 of my 3 shaman games today.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I have all my juggles go face all the time. It's really annoying, but that's what I did. I just decided, just screw it. I'm not going to concern myself with this. I know that 15 games is my goal. So once I get to 15 games, I will then evaluate what my record is at the end of that, and that's all I'm going to care about. And that seemed to work really well. I mean, it was just literally pushing the button, queue up again, don't worry about it. A loss is just another game. And that attitude, I think, really, really helped. So it's not an easy attitude to adopt, but I had to basically force myself to adopt it at the beginning of the season, knowing this was going to be how I was going to approach it. And once I did that, and I just committed to that, and didn't worry about actually the wins or losses, just worried about playing of 15 games a day.
I think that's very, very good for him, because I'm sure as somebody who is in bodybuilding competitions is used to people saying to him, how can you spend this much time in the gym? How can you spend this much time working on the kind of things? And he, I'm sure, knows that at some point you just got to turn off that part of your brain that says, this is a lot, this is too much, this is different, this is hard, this involves my ego, and just say, you got to get the work in every single day to make sure that you achieve your goal. So
just have to do more reps, man. That's it. Just keep the reps going. And it sucks when you're in the middle of your set, but then you're done. And then you're super strong.
Get silly, man. Play some silly decks. Like, I think that's always it is always fun to just play something completely insane, or get into the tavern brawl and like do something that's silly and stupid and build a crazy deck there where there's less of a pressure. But just clear the air a little bit in your head. Don't let it get too cloudy.
Yeah, I got actually really tilted the other day playing meta decks, and then chat had a great idea. Make an all-legendary deck and go play Wild. That sounds great, and I had a fantastic time doing it. And I actually even won some games. So.
We've also talked a lot about it on the show, but just the importance of keeping good statistics, because, I mean, if your goal is to win and to climb, you should be keeping very accurate stats of your win-loss ratio, because at least then you can make an educated decision whether you should stop playing those decks or not.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the other thing, though, too, is you need to make sure your sample size is large enough to make that decision. Because just because you lose 2, 3 games, 4 games in a row, it might still be the right deck to be playing. You just queued into the bad matchup that many times in a row because of variance.
Right, and there's also a possibility of drawing poorly. Bad matchup, drawing poorly, bad
I think the
RNG.
worst thing you can do is change your deck every game you lose. Like, I lost. Okay, well, what deck now? Okay, what deck now? And it's like keep changing your deck, and then you never find consistency. You never learn to play a deck thoroughly in and out. You never really understand a deck because you're constantly switching around.
Right,
So.
but I was not saying if you went 1 and 2, the statistics dictate drop the deck. No, log 10, 15, 20, etc. games, and then make a decision.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very important to understand exactly what variance is when you play a game like this, because with so many matchups, so many different things that you can queue into, the just randomness of the ladder. The meta switches too as you're ranking up, right? So the meta from 5 to 1 is completely different than the meta from 10 to 5, and so things are going to change over the course of your climb, and you have to be aware of what's really going on. When a deck stops performing. What I had like last month was Druid was killing it all the way to whatever, and then it just stopped killing it. And then Zoo was what carried me the rest of the way. So there was a point where I had to make a switch, and that was made because I was looking at stats. And I realized, like, oh, my win rate has dropped significantly. So it's time to make a different choice here.
Yep, I agree. Want to take the next email, Dills?
Yeah, this comes from Alsponder, I guess. Sure. What's up, Angry Future Nuggets? Okay. Running out of stuff, so you're talking about the death of the chicken now. I've got an idea for a legendary rogue card that I think would be pretty cool. Since rogues use undamaged term on some of its cards, I thought there could be a legendary rogue card that when played, it will make every enemy minion's current health, whether they are damaged or not, their new full health, so you can use Backstab, Dark Iron Skulker, or Shadow Strike to kill minions that you couldn't kill before. Let me know what you guys think. Keep up the good work. It's a very interesting idea.
You would need to keyword that, I think, because I don't know of a short way to express that, but I love the idea of this mechanic.
You might not need to keyword it. You could maybe just say, make all minions undamaged or something like that, but not say restore to full health. You just, I don't know. I don't know exactly how you'd word it, but it is a cool idea.
I do like this idea. Could it be maybe instead of it affecting all enemies, just a rogue tech card that just healed a minion to full health that either you could use on your own or you could.
Well, but you could do that anyway, right?
That
you
wouldn't
play
be
like Earthring Farseer, and
that wouldn't be accomplishing necessarily the same thing that Alsponder here is talking about. I think what Alsponder wants is that if you got something down to 2 health, but it is now damaged, he would like to change it to where it is considered undamaged at 2 health, so he can kill it with a backstab. Mm-hmm. If you just healed it up to 4, you're backstab.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. He wants. Interesting.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just back to square one.
Yeah. Now, he's talking about doing it kind of in a way where it's similar to the Paladin Legendary, where it does it to a full board or something, I think, is what he's going for.
Yeah, he's saying all enemies would have their current health be their new...
Which, would be interesting, because, you'd think if it was a minion that did this, right, then you'd have that into Dark Iron Skulker or something like that. You'd have to figure out a way to cost this correctly, because it could be really, really, really powerful. But it wouldn't be that scary because it has to be used with something else, right, to really reach its full potential. So I think it's okay. It might not actually see play, though. The one thing I can think of when I think about this card is it is asking so much of you for something like this. First, you have to damage them down to the point where they can then Dark Iron Skulker or Backstab or whatever it might be. So you're taking a card slot to do something that then requires you to also have another card to make it work, right? So
definitely seems a wee bit precious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I like the idea of attaching it to a minion, so you can
Sure.
get something else out of the deal.
Yeah.
Or hell, why not? Why not attach it to a legendary that also then does damage to undamaged minions at the end of the turn?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
That would be kind of cool.
Then it's like it's a 1-card combo. Someone in chat says, doesn't Confuse already do this? Yeah, but that's a priest card, so rogues can't play that.
Yeah. So
But that is how Confuse works. It
and-
just flips it, and then whatever it was is now considered its
I mean, there's a
full.
lot of cards that technically work sort of like this, but not exactly like this. No,
Yeah.
there is not a card that works like
I guess
this.
you could play like a Crazed Alchemist. and then
Equality is technically
considered,
like
yeah.
this as well, but again, it's setting
Yeah,
a
if
minion cell
if
to
Equality
one.
was a rogue card, and you could Equality Dark Iron Skulker, that's like a guaranteed board clear, right? So
Yeah,
Oh, dude, yeah. No, that's
Jiraxis.
crucial.
Jiraxis for
I'll
heroes.
tell you what. I think a good job on Alsponder for. I mean, if we can come up with a bunch of other things that is sniffing around this, but Rogue doesn't have, like that. Good job. Good job on you.
It'd be cool.
Can I read this final one?
Yeah, man, go for it. That's why it's that's what we colored it green for you.
Thank you. Scott writes, "Greetings, Tech Crew. Even after opening 100 or so packs and only pulling 4 legendaries, 2 from the initial 50, and 1 was Nat the Dark Fisher," and he adds just a torrent of exclamation points and question marks afterward. There's still several cards I'm missing. So as I'm trying to create a mage deck based around Yogg Saron, I had a few holes to fill and not enough dust to create the cards to fill them. Problem: Cthulhu decks are playing critters on curve. Answer: Mana Wraith. Yeah, that 2/2 for 2 that makes all critters cost 1 more mana, which no one plays. Versus Cthulhu in a spell-heavy deck, this card is amazing. It's instant removal bait and disrupts their curve. If it lives, it rarely alters your curve. Curious if you found other seldom used cards that undermine the current Old Gods meta.
that's cool. I like that idea. I mean, I think we've seen some cards kind of make comebacks because, first of all, there's less options with Standard. So cards that were once just objectively worse than other options in the same mana slot now are totally fine. And I could see. I mean, Mana Wraith does counter a deck that plays only minions for sure. The problem is that it's just such a weak body that it just dies to whatever minion they already played.
I think we talked about Mana Wraith on the show before, like when the Old Gods first started getting revealed. We're like, oh man, is Mana Wraith going to be really good? Because you won't be able to cast your Old God.
Won't be able to cast the Old God, right? Because it costs 11.
It costs 11. No, I can't say it, like not anything that isn't already being used. Like
Well, the Crazed Alchemist making a comeback, I think, was a pretty
Crazed
big deal.
Alchemist and Doomsayers.
Yeah,
I mean,
Doomsayer being everywhere.
those are your two kind of vanilla, original classic cards that are really seeing a lot of play again.
Yeah, but outside of that,
like you've seen cards that are good and were always like all right, but like what Dill said, has just kind of popped up, like Earthen Ring Farseer or Karen Bloodhoof or whatever that you never really saw before, Old Gods, and now they're in a lot of decks.
yeah, it's interesting to see the cards that do make comebacks because I didn't expect to see Crazed Alchemist ever. And I used to play Crazed Alchemist in my Milkshake deck because it was awesome because you would flip things and then you'd be able to Power Word Death them or something like that, or Shadow Word Death them. So it was like really cool for like a deck like that relied a lot on what the attack, values were. And now we were seeing a world where Kodo is really popular.
Yeah.
Like Doomsayer and stuff like that. So being able to flip things around is actually a really useful tool. So that's definitely, I would say, the one that I think we're seeing again now that we weren't seeing for a long time. That's really interesting. The Mana Wraith, I get it. I get why he's putting it in there. I still think you're paying 2 for a 2/2 that just is going to die to whatever they end up playing. So it might disrupt one turn, but I don't think I would still use it.
I think it's wonderful if you're seeing a lot of Cthulhu decks. I'm not seeing consistently enough Cthulhu decks to make me want to go this route. So that's kind of my really boring
Well, the problem too, I think, is the Cthulhu decks that are getting played will be able to deal with a 2/2 pretty easily. You're seeing like Cthulhu Warrior, which will just fire your War Axe it. You like Cthulhu Rogue will just backstab it. And you baited removal, but if you're playing a Yogg Saron deck, baiting removals doesn't really matter because what other minions are you playing? You're not really playing that many minions anyway, so baiting removal doesn't really do as much as a deck that's actually got like these bombs that it wants to get on the board. So it's a really cool idea. I like it a lot. I don't know if I would go that route, but I like people getting creative, and that's what we're seeing a lot right now. We're seeing a lot of people get creative, trying to figure out what cards might actually work again. Dog had this deck recently where he was ramping with Druid because he just wanted to play a good Druid deck, and he had the friggin' North Sea Kraken in that thing, and everyone talked about forever how, hey, great arena card, this will never see play, and constructed. But here we are. When you can ramp as fast as Druids can ramp now, and you don't have combo taking up 4 slots in your deck, you could start to get a little more creative and see
get
things
all
like
sorts
this.
of horseplay in there.
Yeah. So I love what's going on with the meta right now, and I love that it's not all figured out. I'm excited to see what other kind of weird, cool things. So people should send us more stuff like this. Keep them coming. Cool ideas that you've had that actually ended up working.
Sweet. I'm down for it. I like where the game's at the moment.
It is a weird season, though. I posted the gif of the turtle climbing up the slide because that is how ladder felt to me this season. It was just I got to 5, and then I was at 7, and then I was at 6 for a while, and then I was back to 7, then I was 8, and then I was 6, and it was just like, okay, I can't get anywhere. But what's really happening, and I started to think about it, is I could just be playing Shaman. I could just sit here and just play mid-range Shaman and probably be doing much better. But what's the fun in that? I want to play a different deck every single day. So that's really what's going on right now. And I think a lot of people are like that. So right now you're seeing so many different weird archetypes, and you never really know what to expect. And it's awesome. Like I get jealous of people at rank 15 when I'm not, because they're seeing the cool decks and I'm seeing, Zoo over and over again. So this season has not been like that at all.
Seeing Zoo over and over again. I've never had to fight this hard to get to rank 11 in my life, and I'm still seeing nothing but Zoo and aggro Shaman.
Get aggro pirate weapon warrior.
There you go. Just hit him in the face.
I haven't seen him much lately, but last week I was seeing a lot of pirate warrior, which is very cool to see.
Cthulhu Warrior will just crap all over Zoo and Shaman. So there's your answer, Garrett. The games are slow as hell, though. But
believe me, I have a Cthulhu Warrior. I enjoy it quite a bit, but you're right. If I'm not, I have nothing. I don't have really a preference for slow or fast decks, but I definitely get in the mood for slower or faster decks. And that Cthulhu Warrior deck, holy crap! I have to be in a certain headspace to be like, yeah, you're coming out of the garage today.
You're like, no, it's totally fine to just armor up and pass 5 times in a row. That's the correct move. Yeah.
Yep. I had a Cthulhu Warrior versus Cthulhu Warrior mirror match late last week, and it was one of the most interesting games of Hearthstone I've played in a while.
I bet.
I just don't want every game to be like that, please, for the love of God. No, because my brain.
People want the slow meta, and then it happens, and then they realize why we need aggro.
Yeah, I mean, no one needs these games to last 30
We
minutes.
need both, guys. We need both.
Yeah.
It should never be all.
You need all of it. You take the good, you take the bad, and at the end, there's the facts of life.
For the love of God.
All right, the question from the chat that I want to hear you guys' answer. Pirate Warrior works, right? We know that.
Yep.
It's totally a thing that works again. What other deck do you think we could get a pirate into?
I think
What other
Rogue,
class?
man. Freaking Rogue.
Yeah, Rogue. Yeah. I mean, TAC proved that. But is there anything that's like not obvious?
No.
No?
No.
You don't think we
Warrior
can
and
make
Rogue
Pirate Shaman?
are your only chances.
All right.
For it to
Well,
be
Pirate
somewhat
Shaman-
successful, I think so.
Pirate Shaman might.
You put all those weapons in there, man. They got a lot of weapons.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? All right. I will concede to you.
Next,
Justin.
collect the meta, dude. Let's make it happen.
You could
Pirate
Yeah, next
Shaman.
collect the meta. Okay.
I mean, there's enough there. I mean, what makes Pirate Warrior work in its current incarnation is like
Well, they got
Nazas.
that new pirate. Yeah.
Giving
They
you
got 2 new
one-
pirates, right?
There's just you're never far away from a weapon.
Yeah.
And you just need that ability to have that deck sing. And I don't know if Shaman is ever going to be in a place where you're just kind of always a card away from
Yeah.
a weapon, right?
But, playing Captain Greenskin on your Doomhammer seems like a pretty good play to me.
Does seem pretty dope, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You ain't whistling Dixie.
You do that, and then you Finley so that you also have the Druid hero power, and then you're hitting
Plus
for 4
1.
twice, and then yeah.
Yeah, because that's guaranteed to happen every time with Finley.
Oh, I'm sure. Every single time.
Well, it is when I'm actually looking for the Hunter hero power. The Druid hero power.
Wonderful. Well, Justin, man, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah.
Filling in for Jocelyn. We really appreciate that. where can folks find you when you're not, when you're not randomly filling in on the Angry Chicken?
Well, I'll tell you where they're definitely going to find me, and that is in July. You'll find me at CreateCon.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, we're bringing the whole crew. Me, Brian Brushwood, are going to do a live night attack, and other than that, man, I grew up in Orlando. I love downtown Orlando. We are going to be doing this event in a place where I once had, I believe, my 6th birthday.
Really?
Yeah, it is a place that is near and dear to my heart, and I could not be more excited. If you are in the southeastern area, you just make it a priority. It's a one-day convention. All you got to do is, get a hotel for a couple of nights. Man, it is going to be a blast. I'm so pumped for this.
I'm also reminding everyone, lump it in with a Universal and Disney trip. You were thinking about it already. Do it.
Dude, right now, Orlando's in a great theme park place right now. If you have not been to the Harry Potter worlds, you need to get that in your life.
Yeah,
Diagon Alley is dope.
I'm watching everyone in LA lose their minds because they got Hogsmeade at their tiny excuse for a Universal theme park. We have,
roll the dice with that. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade and way more space.
And a train.
And a train between the two.
Funniest part about that train. So I used to have a friend of mine, actually Andrew Main. Andrew Main used to have a office on the back lot of the Universal Studios area, right? Because they sell office space there. And so having a knowledge of physically where everything is in Universal Studios is hilarious that they make such a big deal out of the train from Hogsmeade to Diagon Alley because it's literally going 5 feet. It's just like they just roll a little like, meh, and meanwhile you're on this magical adventure. Dude, if you don't like Universal Studios, go to Epcot. That's what we're doing. We're going to drink around the world. It's going to be a blast. Everybody go there. But meanwhile, when you're there, you're going to want to be looking in style, which is why you're going to want to go to stickers or diaf.com. That is where I sell my sticker packs. It is $5 for a sticker pack, and everybody should get one. We are currently out of our hashtag BJC stickers, our Bonjour Click stickers, which if you've ever watched my stream at twitch.tv/Jurystone, you understand that we represent the Bonjour Click, meaning all we ever do is say hello. We use no other emotes but to just hit them with the bonj. So those will hopefully be back soon. But in the meantime, go ahead and check it out, stickers or DIAF. And thank you guys so much for having me. This is like one of my favorite podcasts, and I love being on it.
Oh, awesome.
You know what? I think if you can't get that sticker, you just go get a tattoo. Just get a BJC tattoo.
Good. Yeah, just get it. Just get a hashtag BJC, hashtag Bonj sticker.
I think
you guys aren't familiar with the Diamond Club. They seem to inspire a lot of artwork on people's bodies. So.
Oh yeah, when you were in town, there was
when you were in Austin, we had a very special tattoo on a young lady's back, I believe. And then when I saw you in San Francisco, we saw Brett, who had just gotten some fresh Diamond Club.
He gave himself a tattoo.
He did himself. That's right. Yeah.
That is fantastic. I'm actually I'm getting my Justin Robert Young's face tattooed on me very soon. It's going to be wonderful.
Listen, it's a great face. It's a great face.
I'm going to have your beard tattooed on me to make it look like my beard. That's what I'm going to do. Thanks again to our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting us. Also, thank you for your iTunes reviews. Thank you to 4 Strings FTL, Leal, and Rendon Martin. Thank you for your 5-star reviews. We really appreciate those. Find us on AMove TV or at youtube.com/AMove TV. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Declan H., Peter Williams, and King Louie. Get our coffee mugs, pint glasses, and other swag at bit.ly/AMove store. And follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast, and we will be back next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Dills, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Willie Dills. Check out the Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. There's going to be some cool stuff happening over there. I'm actually going to be helping a brand new service kind of test their features, so look out for that. I'm not going to say too much more because I don't really know how it's going to be implemented yet, but that will be coming up, so that's really cool. Also, if you are a Dills patron, this Friday is the first patron game night. So everybody who is a patron, show up. We're going to play some Overwatch together. And if you don't have Overwatch or you don't have it on PC or something like that, we'll have other Discord channels going and stuff where people can be playing Hearthstone, Diablo, WoW, whatever else you want to play. And then also the other shows I do, the Instance and Stormcast, which is actually going to be happening tonight, I believe. So check those out as well.
Sweet. Awesome. Find me on Twitter at Garrett Art. I'll be on Into the Nexus talking about Heroes. I will be on Overwatchers in mere hours. We're starting to stream up early tonight, 8 p.m. if you're watching live. Going to be streaming some games before our launch episode of Overwatchers, so go check that out. Jocelyn is out sick today, but you can find her and I talking about the latest episode of Game of Thrones on Embrace Spoilers. Just look for Embrace Spoilers Game of Thrones. You'll find it there. It's also up on amove.tv. Those are all the places I'll pimp this week. Again, don't forget about CreateCon. It's at createconvention.net, or you can find CreateCon right there on Eventbrite. Looking forward to seeing many of you folks, especially you, Justin, and you, Dills, in Orlando, Florida this July. That will do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!